All right, hello everyone. So for this video, we will try to finish the IPRA para by returning next week. Let's we will now have or we can now have our next topic or um our next topic for finals kasi we only have 2 weeks before the final examination, okay? At nasa IPRA pa rin tayo. Anyway, after the discussion, maybe by Monday, we can have now your first quiz, which is focused on the IPRA law. Okay? So in on this presentation and also from the law itself, from the document itself. Okay? Dun ko kukunin yung mga ipapa-quiz ko this coming Monday. So, paulit-ulit natin sinabi na may apat na bundle of rights na nakatala sa ating Indigenous Peoples' Right Act. Una dito is the right to ancestral domains and lands. And we already have defined the difference between the ancestral domains and lands. So, pa, paano na lang natin to? And this one, the CADT versus the CALT. So the CADT is the Certificate of Ancestral Domain Title. This is given to the community as their um, ownership title for their ancestral domains. So yung mga ancestral domain kasi they are owned by the community, by the whole community. Communal claims ang tawag nila doon. So CADT ang ibinibigay sa kanila o ini-issue sa kanila. While CALT are given to the individuals or families or clan who has ancestral land claims inside the ancestral domains. Okay? So these two certificates are the native titles or proof of ownership of our indigenous people, recognizing their legal rights predating from the colonial property system. Okay, so with this title or with this document, it proves that the indigenous people has cultivated, resided, used, managed these lands or domains for time immemorial. Okay? Tandaan niyo yung native title na yan. Native title is the basis of the legal claims of our indigenous people to their domains and lands. Okay? Now, there's a question here. So what is the action if an ancestral land inside an ancestral domain was sold before 1997 to a non-indigenous people? So what will be the case or what will be the scenario dito sa question na ito? And another one is the question shows an issue of ex post facto, or is the IPRA law powerful enough or strong enough to combat civil rights, or shall the law respect the prior vested right of ownership of those who bought ancestral lands before the establishment of the IPRA law? So issue ba siya ng ex post facto? Alam naman natin ng ex post facto from our constitution says that there shall no be law passed or established. I mean, sa ex post facto, wala dapat makulong o makakusuhan ng isang krimen na hindi pa na nagawa noon na hindi pa naisa sa batas sa panahong yon. Okay? O in simple term, hindi natin pwedeng kasuhan ang isang tao ng isang krimen na hindi pa naipasa o wala pa noong ginawa niya yung krimen na yon. Okay? So like for example, kung wala pang batas noon about child marriage, nagkaroon lang ngayong 2025, sabihin na lang natin, hindi pwedeng kasuhan yung naipakasal ng child marriage noong 1996. Okay? Kasi wala pang batas. Hindi pwedeng back to the past yung ating batas para lang i-punish o kasuhan yung mga nag-violate ng batas na ipinasa naman noong 2025. Okay? So hindi po um anong tawag na nila doon? Hindi po retro ang ating batas. Hindi po siya pwedeng bumalik para panagutin yung mga taong nag-violate ng isang krimen na hindi pa naman naipapasa yung mga krimen ay yung mga batas na iyon. Okay? So, ex post facto is more on criminal charges. Okay? Pero yung IPRA law and the civil rights, they are not criminal cases. Okay? So, more on ano sila, mga civil cases. So, in this scenario, in this question, IPRA law respects the claim or the rights vested uh, on someone who bought an ancestral land before the establishment of the IPRA law. In short, nirerespeto po ng ating IPRA law yung karapatan ng pagmamay-ari kapag binili yung ancestral land bago na establish yung IPRA law. Okay? Given na given na hindi po niloko at may mga legal documents na nagpapatunay na totoo at legitimate yung pagbili nila ng ancestral land o ancestral domain. Okay? So kung wala pong issue, lahat po ay nasunod, lahat ay legitimized, wala ay nirerespeto po ng IPRA law yung karapatan ng pagmamay-ari ng ancestral land ng mga non-IP na tao o individual. Okay? So exempted po sila sa tinatawag natin na native title o yung pagbibigay ng CADT at CALT. Okay? So hindi po pwedeng bigyan o ipuwersa ng IPRA law yung pagmamay-ari ng indigenous people kung naibili o naibenta yung ancestral land before the establishment of the IPRA law. Kung titignan natin para siyang loophole pero hindi po siya loophole, okay? Hindi po siya loophole ng ating batas. May special exemption lang talaga na pagrespeto na rin sa civil rights of ownership ng mga tao na nakabili ng mga lupain ng ating mga katutubo before the establishment of the IFRA law. Okay? So sana naintindihan po 'yon. Now, before we proceed to the next right, paalala ko lang po na in our IFRA law, sinabi doon na kapag may mga senaryo kung saan kailangang lumikas o persahang paalisin yung mga indigenous people natin sa kanilang ancestral territories, may karapatan po ang ating mga sundalo, ang ating mga kapulisan na pwersahin, na paalisin o i-relocate ang ating mga indigenous people, especially kung manganganib yung kanilang buhay sa kanilang ancestral territories. Okay? Given that lahat po ng kanilang karapatan, lahat po ng kanilang pangangailangan ay may bibigay ng gobyerno. At tsaka masisiguro ng gobyerno na makakabalik ng ligtas at maayos ang mga IPs natin. So, in case na hindi naligtas yung mababalikan nilang mga teritoryo, ay may duty din o responsibility ng gobyerno na bigyan ng ating mga IPs ng relocation site o maayos na bagong bahay o bagong territory na matitirhan. Okay? Meron din pong karapatan ng mga IPs natin sa pag-control o pag-manage ng mga pumapasok na turista o mga tao, non-indigenous people sa kanilang mga ancestral domains and ancestral land. Okay? Part po yan ng ating rights of ancestral domain and land sa chapter, yung chapter ba to? Chapter 3, Section E or letter E, the right to regulate entry of migrants. So, the IPs has the right to regulate the entry of migrant settlers and organization into their domain. Question: pwede bang mag-impose ng fee or payment yung mga IPs natin kapag may mamamasyal o papasok sa kanilang lugar? They have the right to do that, okay? Given that hindi naman masyadong ganun ka mahal at saka kapag um, mamamasyal or dun sa mismong ancestral domain sila pupunta, hindi yung dadaanan lang. So, hindi pwedeng magtayo ng toll gate yung mga indigenous people natin. Kapag dadaanan lang nila yung ancestral land nila, mag-i-impose na sila ng ng toll fee. Hindi po pwede yon. So, kapag tourism or siguro sabihin na lang natin na may na um, instead ay aside from mamamasyal, may mga studies silang gagawin sa lugar, the eyepiece has the right to impose payment. Okay? May karapatan din po sila na kapag may mga gustong tumira sa kanilang ancestral domains or lands ay paalisin nila. Now, kapag may sa mga turismo naman or turista, naka-violate sila ng mga rules, policies inside the ancestral domain. May karapatan din po ang mga eyepiece natin na mag-impose ng fees or fines sa mga turista or i-impose sa kanila yung customary laws nila. Given that hindi po siya nakaka-violate ng national law or other laws that we have in the Philippines. Okay? So, okay lang po yung pagbibigay o pag-i-impose ng fines or fees. Okay? And syempre, as turista, we have the responsibility to follow the policies or rules inside the ancestral domain. Okay? Ano pa ba? O, ayan. So, nasabi ko na to sa ibang section, pero we have the right to redemption, letter B, sa section 8. Section 8, letter B, the right to redemption. So, kung yung mga lands or domains ng mga IPs natin ay kinuha ng ibang mga tao, especially mga non-indigenous people, may karapatan pong bawiin ang mga lupain na ito, mga teritoryong ito ng mga IPs natin. Given that hindi po siya nag exceed sa period na 15 years mula nung kinuha yung kanilang mga lupain o teritoryo. Okay? So kung niloko, pinagsamantalahan, or walang consent yung pagkuha ng kanilang territory, pwedeng bawiin ng ating mga IPs yung mga teritoryong ito. Given that, hindi pa nag exceed ng 15 years simula nung kinuha nila um, yung mga land na yon. Okay? Right. So, let's continue. Let's proceed with the right to self-governance and empowerment. So, in this right, the IPs are allowed to use their commonly accepted justice system, their conflict resolution institutions, peace building processes, and customary laws. In short, the IPs are given the freedom to exercise their own judicial and customary laws. Okay? So, may karapatan pong gamitin ng mga IPs ang kanilang mga sariling mga pamamaraan sa pag resolve ng mga issues o conflicts within their communities or within their tribes or within their ancestral domains. Okay? Given that yung mga cases po ay hindi dapat nagva-violate ng kahit anong national law, most especially hindi nagva-violate ng human rights. Okay? Tandaan nyo na kapag ang cases sa isang IP community or ICC ay more ay about sa human right violation, dito po pwedeng pumasok o mag-intervene ng ating gobyerno. Okay? So usually or commonly, ang inaalaw lang na i-exercise na case, I mean, ang mga cases lang na pwedeng i-exercise ang customary laws sa isang ICC ay mga cases about common issues about civil concerns like tarita itong mga issue about ancestral domains, ancestral lands, issue sa pamilya, issue sa pagnanakaw, small pagnanakaw lang, hindi yung massive na estafa or what. Ano pa ba? Yung pagpatay, hindi po yan pwedeng sa customary laws lang, okay? Hindi po pwedeng sa customary law lang. So, again, kapag the case or issue being presented or being heard is about the violation of human rights, kailangan pong pumasok ng ating gobyerno o pamahalaan. Okay? So, when you say customary laws, these are indigenous communities' own written or oral systems of rules, rituals, and decision-making structures. Indigenous political system include the Council of Elders or Budong Peace Pacts, the Timuay Council of the Subanen, ensuring that justice and leadership rooted in tradition, moral authority, and consensus building over formal state procedure. Napaka-importante ng customary law kasi sa pag-resolve ng mga concerns o issues sa kanilang barangay o kanilang komunidad, kailangan po yung mga batas na talagang akma sa kanilang kultura at kanilang mga pamamaraan o practices, okay? Sabi nga nila, grassroots ang kailangan nila kasi hindi lahat ng mga batas sa ating national government o yung mga national laws natin ay akma sa kanilang pangangailangan at interes at kultura. Okay? So, mas mabuti na gamitin nila yung kanilang mga customary laws para mas maging maayos yung pagresolba nila ng mga issues. Kasi yun yung nakasanayan nila at yun yung mas pinaninindigan nila, mas pinaniniwalaan nila ng mga kasanayan kaysa yung mga national laws natin na minsan hindi naman applicable sa kanila. Okay? Ayan. So we have another one that is given in this right is for them to have the right to participate in decision making in local, national, or regional, or in every level that may affect them and prior informed consent in use of resources therein. So napaka-importante po ng karapatang ito sa kanila kasi with this right, they can now participate in the lawmaking process or decision making process, especially those laws or those policies that may affect them or may affect their community as indigenous people. Okay? At isa sa pinaka-importanting feature ng ating IPRA law, of course, ay ang free and prior informed consent. Okay? Parang ito yung centerpiece ng ating IPRA law. Ito yung pinaka-powerful na pwedeng panghawakan ng mga indigenous people natin, yung FPIC o yung pre-prior and informed consent. Kasi hindi pwedeng magsagawa, magpasimula ng mga proyekto o programa sa mga ancestral domain or lands nang hindi natin na kukuha yung consent ng mga IPs natin. Pero sa kasamaang palad, hanggang ngayon, napakarami pa rin cases sa mga IP communities ang hindi nasusunod yung ating FPIC. Kung makikita nyo sa mga balita, ang dami pa rin mga mining um, projects, dam projects ang pinupwersa na i-establish o isagawa sa mga ancestral domains ng ating mga IPs. Now, halos walang kapangyarihan yung mga IPs natin, kundi yung harangan o harangin yung mga bulldozer o yung mga backhoe na dumarating sa kanilang mga teritoryo. Yun lang yung kaya nila kasi yung IPRA law na dapat nangangalaga sa kanila ay hindi sila mapangalagaan. Why? Because the government is what? Nakikipag-usap ako sa ano. Is protecting those oligarchs or those businessman, business person, business people na nagsasagawa ng mga ganitong proyekto sa kanilang mga teritoryo, okay? Bakit prina-prioritize o tinutulungan ng gobyerno yung mga businessman na ito? Marahil itong mga businessman na ito, sila yung mga nagfa-fund ng kanilang mga political maneuvers o yung mga kanilang mga campaigns. 'Di ba? So, parang utang na loob na lang siguro nila na hayaan ang mga businessman na ito na gawin nila yung mga gusto nila within the Philippines. So, we do not know why the IPRA law is not strong enough to protect our IPs from this kind of government initiatives or private institution projects. Okay? Yung sanang safeguard o shield ng mga IPs natin ay hindi nila magamit kasi yung mismong gobyerno yung nagsasadlak sa kanila sa ganitong sitwasyon na nahihirapan silang ipaglaban yung kanilang karapatan sa mga ari-arian nila kasi iba yung kanilang sinusuportahan. Mas sinusuportahan pa nila yung mga business owners, okay? O yung mga nag-initiate ng mga ganitong proyekto. Now, dahil sa asa na? Dahil sa the rights to participate in decision making, nagawa ngayon itong IPMR o yung Indigenous Peoples Mandatory Representative na in each local legislative levels, like for example, councils or sanggunians of barangay, municipal, city, provincial, may mandatory representative dapat ang mga IPs given na may IP group sa kanilang mga lugar. Okay? So may mandatory po na representative. Tawag po natin dyan, ex officio positions or members sa mga legislative councils or yeah, positions. Okay? IPMR. Aside from the NCIP, aside from the advisor of the president to the indigenous people, meron din dapat tayong mga local representative with the legislative branch of each level. Okay? At yan po yung tinatawag natin na IPMR. Now, balik tayo sa pre and prior informed consent. Na-discuss na natin itong each word ng FPIC. Okay, yung free, yung prior, at saka yung informed, kung paano ito ni-apply. Okay, so kailangan po ng full disclosure of the project plans, the impact, and the alternatives. And of course, in a language and process that the IPs must understand. Okay? Dapat nasa lingwahe, vernacular language of our um, IPs. Okay? So no project like mining, logging, or dams may proceed without this consent. Okay? FPIC ensure genuine participation and protection from exploitation. Tandaanan ninyo na ang pinaka ugat kung bakit naisagawa ang IPRA ay dahil sa historical na exploitation ng mga teritoryo o ancestral domains and lands ng mga IPs natin. Ito yung prominenteng ipinaglalaban ng mga katutubo natin simula pa. Simula nung sinakop tayo ng mga Kastila until now, ang kanilang mga ari-arian, ang kanilang concern, pinakamalaking concern. Kasi ito yung parating ine-exploit ng ibang mga tao. So napaka-importante ng shield na ito, ng pre-prior informed consent as their shield to protect their rights on their territories. Okay? Right. So part ng right na ito from the um ano right na ito? From the self-governance and empowerment, part ng empowerment nito, our IPs are free to pursue economic, social, and cultural well-being. Meaning to say, um, malaya po ang mga IPs natin na i-pursue ang kanilang mga economic, social, and cultural well-beings o yung mga gusto nilang mangyari sa kanilang socio-economic life and even their cultural belongings. Like for example, their arts, their music, their dances, their traditional dances or indigenous knowledge. May karapatan po silang gamitin yon sa kahit anong gusto nilang pamamaraan. Okay? At dahil nasa kanila ang ownership, ang mga ibang tao ay may responsibilidad na irespeto at igalang ang mga kultura at tradisyon and knowledge, indigenous knowledge na pagmamay-ari ng mga IPs natin. So kung tayo ay kumuha ng mga knowledge, traditions o binastos natin yung kanilang mga dances, clothings, or arts, may punishment po yan. May fees po yan sa ating batas. Okay? And sa pagkuha ng mga cultural knowledge, kailangan po natin ng kanilang consent. Tama, consent. Or else, copyright infringement. Intellectual property rights ang kalaban natin. At saka IPRA law. Okay? Ayan. Before we proceed to the next right, isa sa mga in-emphasize dito sa karapatan na ito ay ang karapatan ng dalawa sa pinakamalaking lugar na may hawak ng bilang ng mga indigenous people ay mabibigyan ng autonomous title. Siyempre, ang una, may pinakamalaking hawak ng mga IPs ay ang Mindanao. Kaya nga tayo may BARM or the Bangsamoro um my goodness, Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. And we have CAR, which I think until now, ito pa rin ay Cordillera Administrative Region. Napakaraming initiatives para gawing autonomous ang Cordillera. But I think until now, hindi pa siya naipapasa-pasa dahil hindi pa nagiging united ang mga probinsya ng Cordillera sa pag-decide na gawing autonomous ang kanilang lugar. Okay? O ang kanilang region. So, nasa section 14 po yan ng chapter 4. Okay, so support for autonomous region. The state shall continue to strengthen and support the autonomous region created under the Constitution as they may require or need. The state shall likewise encourage other IPs or ICCs not included or outside Muslim Mindanao and the Cordilleras to use the form and consent of their ways of life as may be compatible with the fundamental rights defined in the Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines and other internationally recognized human rights. Okay? So, the IPs outside outside the Cordillera and the Muslim Mindanao can also become autonomous as long as their customary laws are aligned with the human rights standard recognized nationally and internationally. Okay? Tandaanan ninyo, customary laws, okay, until magva-violate siya ng human rights. Okay? Magiging invalid na po ang customary law kapag nagva-violate na siya ng human rights, okay? Ng mga tao. Ay, isa pa pala dito sa self-governance and empowerment. Meron tayong tanong na may karapatan po ba ang mga IPs natin na gumawa ng sarili nilang barangay? So nasabi po sa section 18, the title is Tribal Barangays. our IPs has the right to create or form their own tribal barangays basta may predominant population na nakatira dun sa lugar kung saan nila gagawin yung tribal barangay. Meaning to say, yung barangay na yon continuous din na continuous din at saka dominant doon yung mga IPs natin. And dapat kung gagawa sila ng barangay, lahat po ng mga IPs na magiging kasama sa tribal barangay ay nakatira sa iisang teritoryo. Hindi yung parang annex-annex na may IP dito sa sa Tamag Bigan City tapos may IP dito sa bandang malapit sa Calle Crisologo, ang layo-layo ng barangay na yon, ng dalawang yon, hindi po pwedeng maisama yung IPs dito sa tawag nito, sa Crisologo dun sa mga IPs nagagawa ng tribal barangay dun sa Tamagbigan City. Okay? At tsaka kung gagawa sila ng tribal barangay, may existing na barangay na magiging separate na po yun sa sa dating barangay, okay? Hindi siya magme-merge or hindi mababago yung pangalan ng original na barangay. Okay? Magiging separate lang siya. Okay? Now let's proceed with the next right, the social justice and human rights. Okay, so nakasaad dito na isa sa mga features ng ating IFRA law ay ang pangalagaan o mapangalagaan ang karapatan ng ating mga IPs. So there should be or there must be an equal protection and non-discrimination towards our IPs. Okay? In terms of education, health, opportunities, especially sa employment. Okay? Kaya kung may employment opportunities na naipopost online, social media, parating nakalagay sa baba dapat na there must no be there must tawag nito? Wala dapat non discrimination na I mean double negative na yun eh. Wala dapat discrimination within the IP groups or any other minority groups sa Pilipinas, okay? So wala po dapat discrimination when it comes to employment. Basta yung mga basic na requirements na kailangan nila dun sa trabaho ay naa-attain ng mga applicant, okay? From the race, the age, I mean, the age, syempre may requirement naman sa age, 'di ba? I mean, the gender, the race, religion, and of course, the group where they belong to, wala po dapat discrimination. Most especially kapag IP o indigenous people yung pinag-uusapan. Okay? Ayan. So next, we have armed conflict. Okay? So yung armed conflict po natin, when we say armed conflict, ito yung when there are two groups that has, of course, combating or fighting each other. Okay? So most especially kapag may involvement ng weaponries or artilleries or mga guns or yeah, weapons. Okay? So like for example, the military versus the Maute Group or the MILF, yan po yung natag natin mga armed conflict, okay? So, ang tungkol dito sa right during the armed conflict. So, the IPs or the ICCs have the right to special protection and security in period of armed conflict. So, napaprioritize po din yung kanilang mga karapatan at protection during armed conflict. Okay? So, the state shall observe international standards, in particular the Fourth Geneva Convention of 19 49, for the protection of civilian population in circumstances of emergency and armed conflict. Like for example, sa Marawi, madami pong mga IPs during the Marawi Surge, okay? So hindi pwedeng bombahin agad ng ating puwersang sundalo, kasun ang hirap mabulol ah. Ating mga sundalo, Philippine Army, hindi pwedeng bombahin na lang nila yung Marawi without considering the people inside or the civilians na nandun pa rin sa Marawi. They must make sure na na-evacuate yung mga tao dun sa lugar before sila gumawa ng mga ganun ka-massive na initiative, okay? Most especially kapag mga IPs yung pinag-uusapan natin, okay? Hindi naman sa priority sila na evacuate. The Geneva Convention kasi, it's states there na lahat ng mga civilian ay dapat mo protektahan during armed conflict situation. Okay? At hindi dapat exempted yung mga IPs natin. Okay? Especially pag civilian sila. Isa din is that hindi pwedeng i-recruit yung mga IPs or ICCs natin during small armed conflict like this one, domestic armed conflict. Okay? Pero kapag pinag-uusapan natin is wartime, okay? Pag peacetime naman, pwedeng mag-recruit. I mean, baliktad. Pag peacetime, hindi pwedeng mag-recruit ng kung sino-sino lang yung ating pamahalaan. Okay? Pero during wartime, according to our constitution, the people, the Filipinos, are required to defend their state in times of need. Okay? So pag wartime, mga able men, mga kalalakihan na kayang lumaban, ay required po na tumulong o i-render yung kanilang military service sa ating bansa. Okay? Hindi po exempted yung mga IPs natin, especially yung mga kalalakihan na IP. Pero kapag peacetime or may domestic armed conflict, hindi po dapat nire-recruit ang ating mga IPs. Okay? Hindi po dapat nire-recruit yung mga IPs natin, especially kung against sa kanilang will. Dapat voluntary yung kanilang pagsali. Okay? And then ano ba sabi dito? Force indigenous individuals to abandon their lands, territories, and means of subsistence or relocate them in special centers for military purposes under any discriminatory condition. So meaning to say, itong mga IPs natin, hindi pong pwedeng pwersahan na paalisin yung mga IPs yeah, during armed conflict. Pera na lang kapag talagang nanganganib na yung kanilang buhay. Meaning to say, sila na yung tinatarget ng mga makakaliwang grupo. Okay? So kung sila na yung target, pwede na silang pwersahang ipa-evacuate, i-relocate sa ibang lugar. Okay? Pero kapag, like for example, strategy ng mga ng ating sandatahan na na i-corner yung mga makakaliwang grupo sa mga ancestral domain, kaya pwersahang papaalisin yung mga IPs natin, hindi po pwede yun. Kailangan nilang maghanap ng ibang paraan para matalo yung kabilang grupo. Okay? Ayan. So, back to the equal opportunities and treatment na sabi na natin sa employment kanina. So, dapat wala pong pinipili, especially sa recruitment or conditions sa employment. Wala po dapat discrimination or any form of force or coercion against the IPs or IPPs in workforce or in work environment. Ano pa? Wala dapat discrimination when it comes to admission to medical services and social assistance Instead, dapat sila pa yung pinaprioritize when it comes to this kind of social services. Okay? Um, Ayan, basahin nyo na lang yung yung ating IPRA law. Okay? So, next, basic services. Dapat na ibibigay po yung mga basic necessities o utilities na kailangan ng mga IPs natin. Most especially, water and food and electricity, as many IPs are already in need of electricity. Okay? Yung mga Wi-Fi, internet, hindi pa masyadong ganun ka in need or ka demanded sa sa mga IPs natin. Okay? So yung mga basic services muna for subsistence or survival. Okay? Next, we have protection to women, children, and youth. Same with the Filipino women, children, and youth. They also must protect the rights and safety of our um tanito, mga vulnerable sectors of the society. Okay, vulnerable and marginalized, as they say. So, ano ba, integrated systems of education. So, ang kailangan po natin sa ating education system is not diversity. Hindi po natin kailangan ng diversity. Though, syempre, that's the first part. We need to have IPs in our universities, in our public schools, private schools, in all the schools. May karapatan po ang mga IPs natin na mag-aral kahit saan nila gusto. And hindi lang dapat doon natatapos yung ating reforma sa edukasyon when it comes to integration of our IPs. Hindi lang dapat mag-end sa diversity, but we need inclusivity or inclusion. Okay? Pag sinabi natin inclusion, dapat yung mga pinag-aaralan sa eskwelahan ay ah, ano ba yung mga inclusive sa education, like gender sensitive, mga ganyan, no? Ganun din po dapat sa mga IPs natin. Culture sensitive, um, na didiscuss din yung mga traditional knowledge, nare-respeto yung mga traditional knowledge, kapag may mga festival sa school, tsaka may mga traditional dance, ethnic dance, dapat kukuha pa rin yung consent ng mga IPs natin, okay? Para in respect with the law and in respect with the identity and the rights of our indigenous people. Okay? So, dapat integrated po. Nasasaklaw po ng edukasyon natin yung kultura, pamamaraan ng ating mga IPs, especially kung may mga IPs sila na nag-aaral sa kanilang institution, like in UNP. Okay? Pero ang PIC po, ang Philippine Indigenous Community, ay hindi lang ino-offer sa mga state university. Lahat po ng school sa CHED o sa buong Pilipinas ay nag-o-offer ng PIC. Even in Manila, may PIC din po doon. Kasi kailangan po na malaman ng lahat ng Pilipino ang mga karapatan at mga karapatan, of course, the history, the practices, the knowledge, the culture of our indigenous people for us to foster um, respect, empathy, and of course, cultural relativism. Okay? Hindi lang tolerance ang kailangan natin. Cultural relativism. Okay? Lastly, we have right to cultural integrity. Baka hindi naka-record to. Okay, naka-record. Alright, last we have right to cultural integrity. So, anong meron dito? Cultural expressions, sacred sites, languages, and indigenous names are protected. Traditional knowledge cannot be exploited without consent, as we have mentioned a while back. Commercial use of indigenous heritage requires agreements ensuring fair compensation and cultural sensitivity. As I mentioned, especially in tourism, if for example, punta kami sa Kagutungan Falls, may registration venue doon na bago ka makapasok sa mismong lugar o sa falls, kailangan mo magbayad ng fee, which is right of the local people there to impose fees or yeah, payment before entering the ano. Kasi in support na rin sa maintenance at saka compensation na rin ng paggamit natin sa kanilang resources or sa kanilang territory, okay? So ganun din po sa mga IPs natin. I don't know if may IP dun sa Santa Cruz sa Daligan, ngem adan sa IPs dan sa Dasuda Dijay hangko gamin na ko ay na research. Okay, so this prevent exploitation of symbol, music, or art. Again, if we will going to use indigenous knowledge, culture, practices, the indigenous heritage like symbols, music, arts, dances, etc., we need to have consent. And if there's a damage, misuse, or hindi maganda yung representation, we are required to pay compensation or fines or whatsoever to the IPs, okay? Nasa batas po natin yan. Okay, that is how we protect their their culture, okay? Para ma-prevent natin yung exploitation. Oh, hindi lang yan. Actually, madami ditong provisions about the rights to cultural integrity. Madami po dito. Kung titignan niyo dito, may karapatan po yung mga IPs natin na mag-obtain ng cultural materials or like for example, yung pagpapatayo ng mga burial places malapit sa kanilang lugar. Pwede po yun. It's part of their cultural integrity. Okay? Especially dun sa Cordillera na ganun po yung kanilang practice na nasa tabi lang nila yung mga puntod ng kanilang yumao. They have the right to do that. Okay? As long as hindi po siya nakakaabala o nakakapirwisyo sa ibang mga tao. Like for example, yung puntod nasa mismong daanan na, like nasa street na or nasa road na, hindi po pwede yon. Pwede po siya sa tabi ng bahay, pero hindi po dapat sa public places or public for public use, okay? Wala po dapat siya sa public use. Like the road, streets, or whatsoever. Parks, okay? Sa private, ano nyo lang, private territories or private properties. Mhm. Ano ba? And paulit-ulit dito, pero sana ito yung ma-emphasize sa cultural diversity. Dapat wala pong discrimination or prejudice sa kahit anong mga proseso o engagement na ma-involve yung mga IPs natin. Like for example, consultation ng paggamit sa kanilang mga art, hindi po dapat minamok or um, binabastos yung kanilang mga practices, okay? So we tolerate and we respect their culture and their tradition. And it should be punishable by law or may compensation of fines kapag may ganitong mga scenario. And then nasabi ko na rin kanina na yung ay no, nakaraan na kung mas maayos sana na yung pag-portray natin sa mga dances, costumes or clothings ng mga IPs natin ay manggagaling mismo sa mga IPs. So we need the consent and the knowledge of our IPs before we conduct any cultural dances, ethnic dances, or we use their symbols, their music, their arts, and their dances during our festivals or any celebrations in our barangay, in our school, in national festivals or local festivals, okay? In any event, in any time, in anywhere, we need the consent from our IPs. Okay? Sa Section 32, Community Intellectual Rights, nabanggit po dyan. And ayan, sa Section 31, nabanggit din dyan na the state shall ensure that the participation of appropriate indigenous leaders in schools, communities, and international cooperative undertakings like festival, conference, seminars, and workshop to promote and enhance their distinctive heritage and values. Okay? So kung magsasagawa tayo ng mga workshop, seminars, or conferences, it's it's just right na kunin natin yung say, opinion ng ating mga IPs. Sa number 33, nabanggit dito yung about sa burial sites or yung kanilang kung saan nila pwedeng ilatag o i-establish yung kanilang mga burial yung kanilang mga yung mga kanilang mga yumao. Ayan, sa Section 10, 33 din, nabanggit din dyan, the exploration, excavate, and making digging on archaeological sites of the ICCs and IPs for the purpose of obtaining materials of cultural values without prior informed consent of the communities concerned shall be considered as unlawful. Okay? So yung paghuhukay po ng mga archaeological materials sa mga ancestral domains and lands without FPIC ay ipinagbabawal ng IPRA law. Yung pagde-deface, pagre-remove at pag-destroy ng mga artifacts, napaka-importante sa mga ICCs at IPs natin ay ipinagbabawal din sa ating batas para sa preservation ng cultural heritage and identity of our IPs. Yan, right to indigenous knowledge system, practices, etc. Okay, so pakibasa na lang po yung IPRA natin. If you have any question, feel free to use the group chat or directly ask me during our physical discussion. Hmm. And of course, we have the NCIP. One of the feature of our IPRA law is the establishment of the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples. Okay? This is a government's primary agency implementing the IPRA. They are the ones who um, execute or implement the provisions of our Indigenous Peoples' Right Act. The NCIP also issues the ACDT and the ACLT. They also serve as quasi-judicial courts to settle disputes and provide legal supports um, s- during cases na may involvement yung mga IPs natin. They facilitate the FPIC, especially kapag malalaking mga projects or initiatives yung kinalalahukan ng mga IPs natin. And they represent indigenous voices in policy making. So the NCIP is very important for our IPs because they represent the voice of our indigenous people, especially in lawmaking processes. Okay? Napaka-importante po yan. Kaya dun sa Section 40, sa Chapter 7, sa National Commission on Indigenous People, makikita natin dyan yung composition ng NCIP. Kung makikita ninyo, dapat po ang NCIP ay binubuo ng mga commissioners na manggagaling mismo sa mga indigenous peoples community. Okay? So yung mga representative ng NCIP ay dapat mga indigenous people din. Okay? So they must come from or appointed from the following ethnographic areas which our IPs are located in Region 1, in Cordillera, in Region 2, and the rest of Luzon, in Mindoro, Palawan, Romblon, Panay, and the rest of Visayas, the Northern and Western Luzon, Southern and Eastern Luzon, Mindanao rather, provided that, also may ano din, may gender diversity din dito. Napaka-importante po that two among the seven commissioners coming from these different provinces or areas in the Philippines are women. So may mga babae din dapat, dalawa, at least, may dalawang babae na magbubuo o bubuo sa ating NCIP. Lahat sila ay manggagaling sa mga indigenous communities. Okay? So, followed yung sumunod dyan na section is the qualification and the term limit. Pakibasa na lang dyan. The removal from office, appointment. Hindi po binoboto ang ating mga representative and even the IPMR. They are being appointed by the community itself. Okay? Meron din tayong nabanggit din dito sa section na ito na meron din dapat um, siya na, ito yung NCIP na yung magiging parang advisor ng presidente when it comes to the interests and the needs and the protection of the indigenous people's rights. Okay? So, to summarize, we have the four bundles of rights. We have the right to ancestral domains and land, right to self-governance and empowerment, rights to social justice and human rights, and rights to cultural integrity. So these four are the pillars of the IPRA law, and they are very important in securing, safeguarding the rights, the overall rights, and the support in the development of our indigenous people. Okay? So if you have any question about the IPRA law, just ask in our GC and again in physical discussion next week. So by next week, Monday, we will have your first quiz in this subject for finals.